Welcome, friend. It is time to let go of all the burdens of the day. Allow your body to sink deep into the comfortable bed. Tonight, we will listen together to the stories of the Buddha's teaching on letting go of greed to find peace of mind. Close your eyes, breathe in deeply, and exhale slowly. Do not try to think. Just relax. Welcome to Lotus Whisper, your sanctuary for deep rest and gentle contemplation. Tonight, we embark on a quiet journey into the very heart of the Buddha's wisdom. This is the truth that echoes across 2,000 years, that the pursuit of more is the wellspring of all suffering, and that true, deep peace is found only in the soft act of letting go. We will explore the subtle nature of greed, not just the hunger for gold, but the persistent craving for approval, for permanence, for a feeling, or for control. It is time to turn our awareness away from the noise of the world and toward the quiet inner path of contentment. Please take one more slow, deep breath, letting your shoulders soften and your mind become still. If you find a moment of peace here, please consider subscribing to the Lotus Whisper channel to hear more. The empty bowl and the endless desire. Imagine the dust of ancient India, warm beneath a soft evening sun. The air is still, carrying the distant sound of village life, a few soft voices, the clatter of a simple cooking pot. Along a quiet, unpaved road walks a monk. He is cloaked in the simple, dyed robes, and his eyes are cast downward, focused gently on the ground just a few feet in front of him. In his hands, he carries nothing but a single, plain begging bowl, smooth and cool against his palms. This monk's name was known for his profound and quiet peace, a contentment that seemed to radiate from him like gentle warmth. He was on his pindapada, the morning rounds for alms, an ancient, essential practice of humility and non-attachment. The bowl itself was a powerful symbol. It had to be held open, ready to receive, yet without expectation. It could hold only what was given, and once the meal was eaten, it would be empty again, ready for the next day. The bowl embodied the perfect rhythm of the monk's life, taking only what is needed, and leaving nothing left over to be owned, hoarded, or protected. It was a practice of perfect daily release. Now, imagine that the path the monk walks takes him past a magnificent wall, the kind that speaks of immense generational wealth. Behind it lives a merchant named Dana, a name that literally means wealth. Dana had spent his entire life in a furious, unrelenting pursuit of acquisition. His warehouse was already overflowing with silks, spices, and precious metals. His coffers were deep, guarded by layers of iron and thick stone. Yet, the deep, churning anxiety in his heart was the only thing that truly multiplied. Dana could not sleep. He paced his gilded rooms, counting imaginary inventory, his mind trapped in an endless cycle of, if I can only acquire one more ship, one more consignment, then I will be secure. His hunger was not for food. His table was heaped with delicacies, but for a feeling of completion that his wealth perpetually denied him. He had everything, yet he possessed a poverty of spirit that the poorest man who was content would pity. One day, Dana, tired and drawn from a sleepless night, spent worrying over the stability of his diamond investments, happened to look through his ornate window just as the quiet monk passed by. Dana saw the monk's single bowl and his simple, serene face. A sudden, sharp envy struck him, not of the monk's spiritual attainment, which he did not understand, but of the monk's lack of anxiety. Dana called out to the monk, a little harshly, "You, man of nothing! How can you walk with such careless peace? Do you not fear the future? Do you not strive for a better lot?" The monk stopped, slowly turning his gentle gaze upon the frantic merchant. He held up his single, empty bowl. Its surface caught the sunlight, reflecting a deep, honest simplicity. "Honorable Dana," the monk replied, his voice soft, like the settling dust. "I strive, yes, but not to acquire things. I strive only to maintain the space in this bowl and in my heart as empty as it is now." Dana scoffed. "Empty? What good is empty? I fill my life with solid, real things. Land, gold, spices. These are certainties." The monk simply smiled, a deeply peaceful smile that did not mock, but truly understood. "You fill your life, yes, but your life is the container, and it is a container with no bottom. The nature of greed is to pour, 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 and never feel full, because the vessel itself is boundless. You collect, and in doing so, you create an endless task, the task of guarding, counting, worrying, and yearning for more than you have." He lowered the bowl. "My bowl is empty. I receive only what sustains me for this single day. And when the day ends, I empty it completely, of food and of thought about tomorrow's food. It is light. I have nothing to guard, nothing to count, and therefore I have no anxiety." The peace you see, Dana, is the direct result of having only one thing to carry. This simple, light, and empty bowl. Dana felt a prickle of discomfort, a sudden recognition of his own heavy chains. He had traded his sleep for gold, his quiet hours for worry. His wealth had not bought him freedom. It had bought him a tireless, demanding master. Now, let this story gently touch your own quiet mind. Think of your own empty bowl tonight. It is not necessarily a physical bowl, but the empty, peaceful space inside your chest, the quietude of your spirit when it is not crowded by demands. What are you currently pouring into your boundless container? Is it the need for a better job title, the craving for a compliment from a difficult person, the desire for your home to be perfectly organized right now? These are all small, subtle forms of greed. The insistence that reality should be other than it is, and that you must grasp and fill that gap. The Buddha's wisdom here is tender, not demanding. He does not ask you to throw away your home or your comforts. He asks you to look at the attachment to those things. Are you willing to be empty, just for tonight? To let your mind be like that polished, simple bowl, ready to receive rest, but determined not to hold on to the worries of the day, the plans of tomorrow, or the endless inventory of your own desires. The lightness of the monk's stride comes from the lightness of his heart. As you lie here, feel the heaviness of your own attachments, the things you are still clutching even in your sleep. Let them become loose in your hands. You do not need to fight them. Simply recognize that they are illusory weights and let them fall away. Breathe into the emptiness, the quiet space within you. Let that emptiness be your rest, your certainty, your sanctuary tonight. In the deep quiet of non-grasping, there is an absolute and profound peace. There is nothing to be done, nothing to be acquired, nowhere to run. There is only the soft comfort of the present moment, empty and whole. The fire sermon's gentle glow. Rest softly now, deeper still. Let the tail of the empty bowl drift away like smoke, leaving only the cool, smooth surface of your current awareness. We turn now to a teaching that, while known for its dramatic imagery, we will approach tonight with the utmost gentleness. The Buddha's fire sermon. Do not imagine a harsh, terrifying blaze. Rather, picture a small, constant, almost unnoticed glow, the heat that comes from friction. The Buddha once gathered 1,000 monks and delivered this profound teaching, not long after his enlightenment. He wanted to show them, and us, that the peace we seek is not hidden in some distant paradise, but revealed when we simply recognize the state of things as they are. And the state of things, he observed, is that they are all burning. Imagine yourself sitting quietly on a dark evening, watching a low, steady flame in a hearth. This flame is the world as seen by the Buddha, and what is burning is not wood, but the senses themselves, and the emotions that cling to them. The Buddha gently stated, "The eye is burning, the ear is burning, the nose is burning, the tongue is burning, the body is burning, the mind is burning." He was not speaking of physical fire, but the fierce, consuming heat of the three poisons, the deep-seated sources of unhappiness: greed, lobha; hatred, dosa; and delusion, moha. Tonight we focus on that persistent heat of greed. Think of your eyes. When they open, they immediately begin to crave. They see the perfect home in a magazine and burn with the desire to possess it. They see a fleeting beauty and yearn to hold on to it forever, refusing to let the image fade. That yearning, that insistence on permanence, that is the subtle fire of attachment. It makes the eyes restless, forever scanning for the next thing to acquire, to compare, to judge. That is the burning. Now, think of your ears. They crave pleasant sounds, a compliment, soothing music, a comforting assurance. And when they hear something disagreeable, a criticism, a harsh tone, silence when they expected a sound, they burn with the desire to reject it, or the greed to change it. The mind begins to spin, trying to re-edit the conversation, to argue back, to control the sound waves that have already passed. This is the exhaustion caused by the ear's subtle hunger. The Buddha's wisdom asks us simply to recognize the heat. When you lie here, noticing a fleeting thought of longing for a different past, a better tomorrow, or a quiet achievement, observe that this longing is itself a small flame. It consumes your peaceful energy, and it never truly satisfies. If you are constantly grasping for something, you are in the fire. If you are constantly resisting something, you are in the fire. Peace is the cool, still center you arrive at when you gently withdraw your hand from the heat. The key to finding peace, then, is not to struggle against the fire, but to realize that it is not yours to own or control. The things that seem so real and permanent, the sights, the sounds, the feelings, are merely transient fuel for the flame. They are like leaves and twigs. They flare up, they glow intensely, and then they turn to cool ash, regardless of how tightly you tried to hold them. As you breathe, let your awareness become the gentle night air, cool and untouchable. Imagine that you are watching the movie of your life and your desires from a comfortable distance. You see the flickering light of wanting, the craving for comfort, the urge to check the time, the subtle pull to start planning tomorrow. These are all flashes of the fire. Instead of jumping into the heat, simply acknowledge the glow. Say softly to yourself, "Ah, the eye is seeing a desire," or "the mind is burning with a familiar worry." By naming it, by seeing its true nature as merely a transient, burning sensation, you stop feeding it. You deny it the fuel of your engagement. And when you stop feeding the fire of greed, it naturally begins to diminish. The heat dissipates. The sermon's gentle glow reveals this truth. True peace, the kind that lets you sink into deep, restful sleep, is a state of cooling down. It is the absence of that frantic, ceaseless energy of wanting and resisting. It is the realization that you already have the most priceless possession, the stillness of the mind, when it is not chasing after the next shiny object or trying to reform the moment it is in. So, let the last flicker of the day's cravings burn itself out. Do not judge the ash. Simply feel the cool air settling in its place. Let your whole being become cool, calm, and deeply settled. Release the burning desire to be awake, to be asleep, to be anything other than exactly what you are right now. A peaceful body resting in the quiet dark. This is the gentle truth that extinguishes all the fires of the mind. Sink deeper now into the profound coolness of non-attachment. The merchant and the priceless gem. Let us now travel further into the gentle narrative night, leaving the faint warmth of the fire sermon behind. Breathe in the cool, profound stillness. Our next story is one of simple values, a tale that contrasts the pursuit of material glitter with the discovery of true, inherent worth. Imagine a bustling port city, where the air is thick with the scent of salt, distant spices, and the sharp, exciting tang of commerce. Here lived a merchant named Kalpa, whose reputation for shrewdness and insatiable desire for profit was known across the seas. Kalpa's obsession was jewels. He saw in their hardness and sparkle the ultimate symbol of permanent, undeniable wealth. He did not admire their beauty for itself. He admired the power they gave him. Kalpa already possessed a fortune, but his anxiety always focused on what he didn't have. His most treasured possession, a rare, perfectly smooth black pearl from the deep ocean, a gem whispered to be priceless, had been given to him by his father, who had inherited it from a wise old traveler. The father had told Kalpa, "Guard this pearl, my son. It represents the peace that cannot be bought. Keep it as a reminder of true value." But Kalpa saw only the incredible monetary value, not the wisdom within the advice. One spring, Kalpa heard rumors of a far-off island market teeming with newly discovered mines and thousands of glittering stones, diamonds, rubies, and sapphires of every imaginable hue. Greed, that persistent buzzing fly in his mind, told him, "You must go. You must acquire them all. Only then will your fortune be complete." Blinded by this vast, sudden craving, Kalpa quickly liquidated everything he could, silks, spices, even promising land holdings, turning it all into portable gold. But as he looked at the gold, his hunger only grew. He knew the journey was long and dangerous, and he needed every bit of capital. In his frantic hurry and his desperate focus on maximizing his funds, he made a careless decision. He decided to sell the precious, priceless black pearl. "It is only one pearl," he rationalized to himself, his mind already calculating the thousands of lesser stones he could buy with the pearl's enormous value. 1,000 gems are better than one. Quantity is security. He sold the pearl to a quiet collector for an immense sum, hardly pausing to look at it one last time. He pocketed the coins and sailed immediately, his heart pounding not with excitement, but with a fierce, anxious drive. When he arrived at the distant market, Kalpa spent his gold feverishly. He bought thousands of stones, crates upon crates of them, all beautiful, all valuable. He spent every last coin until his ship was heavy with his new enormous bounty. He felt a temporary rush of triumphant acquisition, but it quickly soured into a deep, hollow exhaustion. He was now the richest merchant in the market, but he felt profoundly impoverished. On the long, silent voyage home, a deep unease settled over him. His anxiety about protecting his new, bulky treasure far outweighed the joy of possessing it. He constantly checked the locks, fearing pirates, storms, or betrayal. One quiet night, as the moon cast a single path of light across the ocean, Kalpa sat alone, the vast collection of gems surrounding him. He suddenly remembered the single, smooth black pearl. He remembered his father's words, the peace that cannot be bought. With a sudden, crushing clarity, he understood the terrible trade he had made. The thousands of new stones, while materially valuable, were common. They required endless protection, counting, and worry. But the black pearl, the priceless gem that represented his inherited wisdom and the core value of his spirit, had given him peace through its sheer, singular perfection. It needed no comparison, no counting, and no hoarding. It was the only thing he truly needed, yet he had traded it for 1,000 reasons to worry. The moral is subtle, not about the loss of the physical pearl, but about the loss of a state of mind. Greed had convinced Kalpa that more is better, and that quantity equals security. In his relentless pursuit of the 1,000, he had overlooked and discarded the one, the truly priceless element of contentment. Let this quiet wisdom settle upon you now. What are the thousands of lesser gems that you are allowing to clutter your mind tonight? Perhaps you are trying to acquire 1,000 moments of perfect sleep, 1,000 details perfectly managed for tomorrow, 1,000 reasons to feel justified in an argument. These pursuits of quantity, this grasping for more certainty, more control, more praise, are exhausting. They require constant checking, counting, and guarding. They are the noise of the market that keeps you awake. But there is a single, priceless gem within you, right now. It is your intrinsic worth, the simple, unadorned peace of your breath, the quiet presence of your own awareness. This single gem is complete. It needs no polishing, no guarding, and no comparison. It is the peace your father, or your deepest wisdom, told you to keep. Greed tells you to sell that peace for the worry of 1,000 tomorrow details. Tonight, choose to be the wise one who recognizes the difference. Gently let go of the crates of worry, the heavy bags of planning, and the glittering distractions of desire. Hold the single, smooth, cool sensation of your breath. That is the pearl. It is enough. It is priceless. You are already whole. Sink into that realization now, and let its quiet certainty deepen your rest. The water lily's lesson on attachment. Allow your body to feel heavier now, your muscles softer. We move to a contemplation of nature, a metaphor the Buddha often used, drawn from the serene beauty of the marshlands, the delicate yet powerful lesson of the water lily or the lotus. Imagine a calm, still pond reflecting the darkening sky. The water is deep and cool, but beneath the surface, the soil is thick, dark, and rich with mud. This mud is the fertile ground of the world of possessions, of desire, of the samsara cycle. It is the stuff of everyday life, full of potential, but also full of stickiness and attachments. From this deep, rich mud, a slender green stem slowly rises, pushing upward through the murky water. It does not fight the mud. It uses the mud for sustenance, for its very existence. Yet, it does not become part of the mud. Finally, the stem breaks the surface tension of the water, and there, perfectly centered and pristine, rests the lotus or water lily bloom. Look closely at the petals. They are impossibly white or pink, untouched and unblemished by the mud from which they arose. The water itself, though it constantly touches the petals, does not cling to them. It beads and runs off, leaving the surface dry and pure. This image is a gentle yet profound teaching on the nature of non-attachment, particularly concerning greed and possessions. The Buddha did not teach that you must discard everything and live in deprivation to find peace. That, too, can be a form of grasping, a greedy attachment to the idea of asceticism. Instead, the wisdom of the water lily shows us a subtle, perfect middle way. The teaching is this: you must live in the world, but not be of the world. You must use the resources of life, your home, your comforts, your relationships, your wealth, as the lily uses the mud. But you must not allow these things to stick to the core of your being, to your sense of self or your deep tranquility. Greed is the feeling that says, I must hold on to this mud. My happiness depends on possessing this piece of earth. Attachment is the sticky film that forms on the petals, preventing the water of life from simply running off. Think of your own life now. Your job, your friendships, your favorite possessions. These are the rich, necessary mud. There is no need to push them away, but ask yourself quietly, where is the sticky place? Perhaps you are attached to a certain outcome for tomorrow. You are resting, yet your mind is clinging to the desire that a meeting must go perfectly, or that a loved one must behave in a certain way. This clinging, this insistent demand for control, is the mud sticking to your petals. It is a tiny, hidden form of greed, the greed for reality to conform to your internal script. The water lily shows us how to be present without possessing. It rests lightly on the surface. Its beauty is enhanced by the deep mud below, but its essence remains pure. Tonight, as you feel yourself sinking deeper into the soft support beneath you, practice the nature of the water lily. A thought of worry arises. Let it bead and run off. A memory of regret or anger tries to stick. Let it bead and run off. A subtle desire for a different life, a different feeling, a different moment arises. Acknowledge the desire and let it bead and run off. You are here to float. You are resting on the surface of this night. The goal is not to clean the mud. The mud is simply there, but to cultivate a smooth, non-sticking surface in your own consciousness. When nothing clings, there is a profound, effortless sense of purity and lightness. Imagine that your whole being is becoming light, like the flower resting gently on the water. No tension, no resistance, no grasping. The things you use, the people you love, the life you lead. They are simply the water and the mud that support your beautiful presence. You are sustained by them, but you are not defined or stained by them. This non-attachment is the source of inner cleanliness and peace. When you are not grasping, you are free. When you are free, you are at peace. Let this freedom settle deep within your bones now. You are unblemished, perfect, and gently floating. Allow yourself to drift further away from the banks of attachment and into the quiet, open water of rest. The silent monk and the golden statue. Drift now into a deeper layer of stillness. Our awareness is becoming less about the action of letting go and more about the quiet state of already having let go. Tonight, we enter a quiet sanctuary, the space where true contentment resides, untouched by the glitter of the world. Imagine a secluded Zen monastery nestled high in the mountains. Its halls are old, made of dark, smooth wood, scented with ancient incense in the quiet dampness of mountain air. The central focus of this monastery had always been a statue of the Buddha, a large, beautiful figure carved from ancient wood, placed in the main meditation hall. For centuries, pilgrims and monks had revered it, not for its material value, but for the peaceful teaching it embodied. But one year, the monastery received an unexpected, extravagant gift from a wealthy patron. He commissioned a master craftsman to sculpt a new statue, an exact replica of the old wooden one, but this time it was cast entirely in pure, shimmering gold. It was a spectacular piece, a dazzling, heavy embodiment of material wealth. The patron believed he was honoring the Buddha in the most magnificent way possible. When the golden Buddha was unveiled, the entire community was swept up in the excitement. Visitors traveled for miles just to see the sheer spectacle of the gold. The hall glittered, and the minds of many of the younger monks began to flutter with thoughts of the statue's immense value, the security it represented, and the fame it brought to their isolated sanctuary. They started spending hours polishing it, guarding it, and comparing it to the old, plain wooden statue, which was now relegated to a quiet corner. However, there was an old Zen master who was known for his profound and unshakable peace. He was often found simply sitting, motionless, near the old wooden statue. When the golden Buddha was placed in its prominent position, everyone watched the master, curious to see his reaction to the dazzling object. The master walked slowly to the golden statue. He stood before the glittering figure for a long time, not in adoration or excitement, but in a state of quiet, detached observation. Then he simply smiled, a peaceful, deep, and knowing smile. He touched the statue's cool surface once, a fleeting touch of recognition, and then he turned and walked back to his usual spot, beside the old wooden one. Days turned into weeks, and the master never spoke about the gold. He never suggested it be moved or criticized the patron or praised the craftsmanship. He simply continued his daily practice, sitting in perfect stillness. Finally, one young, anxious monk, consumed by the contrast, approached the master with reverence. "Master," the monk whispered, "the golden statue is so magnificent, so valuable. Does it not stir some feeling in you? Awe? Or perhaps a fear that we might lose such a fortune?" The master opened his eyes, the light in them quiet and deep. He pointed first to the old wooden statue, darkened by time and smoke. "This one," he said softly, "was carved from a tree that drew its life from the humble earth. It is beautiful because it holds the memory of simplicity. Its value is the lesson it teaches." Then he gestured gently toward the dazzling golden statue. "And that one," he continued, "is beautiful because it is gold. It reflects the sun and catches the eye. But its true value is not the gold. Its true value is that it is still just a representation of the Buddha. If it were made of clay or copper or even dust, the teaching remains the same." He looked gently at the young monk. "The gold is the greed that others project upon it. If you seek peace in the gold, you will be restless, because the gold can be stolen or melt. But if you see only the teaching, the quiet wisdom of the Buddha's posture, the material itself becomes irrelevant. It is an internal castle of contentment. The master's lesson was about the shift in attention. The peace he embodied came from the recognition that true value and true security reside not in the material essence of things, but in the internal state of non-grasping. Whether the object is made of humble wood or dazzling gold, the master's mind was not moved. His peace was not dependent on the acquisition or the protection of either. He was content before the gold arrived, and he remained content with it there. As you lie now, feel your mind's tendency to attach value to the gold in your own life. The perfect plan, the ideal outcome, the compliment you wish you had received. The anxiety we feel when seeking these things, or the fear when we think we might lose them, is the exact shadow cast by greed. Tonight, let us practice the silence of the Master. Look at the golden statues in your own quiet thoughts. See them clearly. The ambition, the desire for praise, the need for control. Acknowledge the glitter. Then, gently shift your focus. Realize that they are only objects of the mind. Their material, be it a feeling, a thought, or an item, does not define your inner worth. Let your inner contentment be like the Master's gaze, unmoving, unattached, and profoundly peaceful. The peace that cannot be disturbed by the presence of a fortune is the deepest kind of peace. Rest in that secure, inner awareness now. The gold may shine, but it cannot touch your tranquility. You are free. The breath as the first offering. Sink down, down into the deep calm you have created. Release any residual tension in your jaw, your forehead, your fingers. We turn now to the most fundamental act of non-greed, the most immediate act of letting go, the breath itself. The teachings tell us that greed is often the craving for control, the desperate wish to hold on to what is pleasant and push away what is uncomfortable. We want to control the future, to control other people's opinions of us, and sometimes even to control the very beat of our own hearts. But what is the one thing we possess utterly and yet must surrender completely, moment by moment? It is the breath. The breath is the ultimate lesson in impermanence, anicca, and non-attachment. You draw in the air. It is yours. It nourishes you, sustains you, is the very essence of your life. But if you try to clutch it, to hold it captive in your lungs, you immediately invite suffering. The moment you grasp, the moment you become greedy for that single lungful of air, your body protests with panic. To find peace, you must trust, you must release the breath completely. You must let it go entirely back into the world, offering it back to the vast atmosphere, knowing, with a trust deeper than thought, that the next breath will arrive exactly when needed. This simple, constant rhythm is the monk's daily practice writ large. Receive with gratitude, use what is needed, and offer it back without expectation. The moment of complete exhalation is the moment of perfect peace. It is the moment when you own nothing, and therefore you fear no loss. Tonight, let your attention rest very lightly on this rhythm. Do not try to breathe better, or deeper, or longer. Do not try to control the rate. That subtle striving is a tiny expression of the mind's greed. Just feel the air. Notice the gentle coolness as it enters your nostrils and the slight warmth as it leaves. Imagine that every out-breath is a soft, perfect offering to the quiet night. What are you releasing with the air? Perhaps it is the greed to finish a task that you are too tired to complete. Let the thought go. Perhaps it is the greed to be right in a disagreement from the past week. Let the need for justification go. Perhaps it is the subtle greed to wake up refreshed and happy tomorrow morning. Even that expectation is a small weight. Let it go. The breath is your first and most intimate possession, and it must be perpetually given away. By practicing this simple physical surrender, you teach your mind the profound lesson of non-greed. Feel the deep relaxation that comes from simply letting the body manage itself. You don't have to monitor the heart, digest the food, or demand the next breath. The universe, the life force, is doing it for you. Your job is only to be the gentle witness. The moment of full exhalation is the soft, perfect pause before renewal. It is the 0 point, the emptiness that holds all potential. Linger in that pause, that moment of utter non-striving. This is the peace that comes from the complete absence of grasping. The Buddha's teaching is not an intellectual concept. It is an experience of the body. Let your entire body now become this soft, rhythmic offering. Inhale acceptance. Exhale all forms of striving and greed. Let the air go. Let the thoughts go. Let the need to control go. Sink into the profound safety of not holding on to anything, not even the air in your lungs. You are perfectly supported, perfectly free, and perfectly at peace. Part 7. The river's flow and the stone of desire. Allow your mind to be carried now, as gently as a leaf upon a calm stream. We contemplate the natural world once more, finding deep wisdom in the ceaseless, effortless movement of water. Imagine a wide, ancient river flowing steadily across a vast plain. The river is the perfect metaphor for life itself, a constant, dynamic process of change, always moving forward, never the same from one second to the next. The river accepts everything, the smooth pebbles, the soft light of the sun, the dark clouds of storms, and the distant sounds carried on the wind. It simply flows. This natural, unstoppable momentum is the essence of peace. Now, imagine the feeling of greed as a massive, heavy stone. Greed is the desire to stop the flow, to secure one pleasant moment forever, or to prevent the inevitable changes that life brings. It is the deep, fundamental resistance to impermanence. When the mind is caught in greed, it tries to build a dam in the river of life. It attempts to accumulate and stack up possessions, memories, achievements, and feelings, hoping to block the passage of time and hold the water, the pleasant experience, in a stagnant pool. Think of the things we try to hoard. We hoard money, yes, but we also hoard slight, holding on to old resentments, secretly hoping the past will change. We hoard future moments, meticulously planning out every detail, leaving no room for the river's natural, perfect course. We hoard our identity, clinging rigidly to who we think we are, refusing to change, to grow, or to surrender to evolution. The farmer who tries to dam the entire river to irrigate his single small field soon finds that the pressure builds, the river finds a new, chaotic path, and the dam ultimately breaks, bringing more destruction than benefit. This is the exhaustion and anxiety of the greedy mind. It creates an enormous amount of mental labor. The labor of guarding, maintaining, and resisting. The river teaches a profound truth. Peace is found in movement, not in stasis. The water that is flowing is clean and cool. The water that is blocked, held captive behind the stone of desire, becomes stagnant, warm, and ultimately useless. As you lie here, feel your mind's own natural current. Are you trying to block the flow tonight? Are you holding a heavy stone of unfulfilled desire or resistance to the way things are? Perhaps your body has a small ache or a persistent restlessness. Greed says, "Stop this feeling, I must be perfectly comfortable." That resistance is the heavy stone. The river's wisdom says, "Feel the sensation, acknowledge its presence, and let it pass through you." Perhaps a fleeting thought of a mistake you made today comes to mind. Greed says, "Hold on to it, analyze it, worry about it, so it never happens again." That anxiety is the heavy stone. The river's wisdom says, "It is a drop of water that has already flowed by. Do not chase it back upstream. Let the new moment wash over it." Tonight, your practice is to become the river. Surrender to the flow of this moment. Let your thoughts move like clouds across a vast sky. Do not try to hold on to the pleasant thoughts or block the unpleasant ones. They are simply the terrain through which your consciousness flows. Feel the deep, restorative rest that comes when you stop the frantic, tiring work of building a dam. There is nothing to hold, nothing to force, nowhere you need to be, but here. You are moving perfectly through time and space. The moment you stop grasping the stone of desire, you feel an immense lightness. The weight of your resistance is gone. Trust the flow. Let the river carry you now, softly, quietly, into the deep, welcoming stillness of the sleeping night. You are safe in the current. Part 8. The gift that asks nothing back. Settle deeper into the quietude, friend. Let the sound of my voice be like a slow, steady pulse, guiding you into rest. We now turn our contemplation to the profound, transformative power of giving, an act that is the direct, perfect antidote to greed. This is the practice of dana, or generosity. Greed at its core is the belief in scarcity, the fear that there is not enough, and therefore you must hold tightly to what you have. It whispers that if you give something away, whether it is your time, your money, your energy, or even your attention, you will be diminished. Dana flips this destructive belief on its head. It is the wisdom that recognizes the deep truth of abundance, that the most valuable things are inexhaustible, and that the very act of sharing them multiplies the peace within you. Imagine a simple scenario, a common teaching tale of the Buddha's time. A poor woman who possessed only a single simple garment came to the Buddha wishing to make an offering. She felt shame because her gift was so small, while the wealthy brought mountains of gold and silver. The Buddha saw her humble offering and taught, a gift given with a cleaning heart, expecting return, is heavy and brings little merit, but a gift given with a pure, open heart, asking for nothing back, is light as a feather and illuminates the entire world. She chose to give her single garment, though it meant she would have to go without. The profoundness of her sacrifice lay not in the thing she gave, but in the complete, total surrender of attachment that accompanied the act. She gave away her last defense against the cold, and in that moment of utter selflessness, she received the warmth of perfect internal peace. The most important element of dana is the non-attachment to the result. When we give, whether it's a physical item, a kind word, or just 5 minutes of non-judgmental listening, and then we secretly hold a hook, waiting for a thank you, an acknowledgement, or a feeling of pride, that hook is the tiny spike of greed. It means the transaction is incomplete. The act of giving has become another form of receiving. The Buddha's teaching on peace is about giving the gift that truly asks nothing back. Tonight, as you settle into rest, this is your quiet practice of dana. You are giving the gift of your mental space to the night. What is the precious thing you are holding back, that you refuse to give to the night for rest? Perhaps you are holding back the right to be in control of tomorrow. Release it. Give that control back to the natural order of things, knowing you will meet tomorrow's challenges when the time comes. Perhaps you are holding back the final word in a conversation that has already ended. Release the argument. Give the other person's perspective the space to exist without your resistance. Perhaps you are holding back the perfection of this moment, yearning for a deeper sleep than you currently have. Release that grasping. Give the present moment your full, gentle acceptance, just as it is. With every out-breath, imagine you are making a soft, perfect offering of surrender. This giving does not diminish you. It enlarges the space for peace within you. When you cease to ask for anything from the moment freely gives you everything. Rest, silence, and profound calm. Feel the lightness that comes from complete generosity. You are giving your entire self over to rest, expecting nothing from the morning except what naturally arises. This is the act that dismantles the fortress of greed, brick by brick. You are not impoverished. You are made immeasurably rich by the spaciousness of your giving heart. Let this abundance of peace carry you now, softly, completely, into sleep. The Old Farmer and the Hidden Treasure. Breathe in slowly, deeply, and let all effort drain away. We move to a simple, quiet field, away from the clamor of cities and the anxieties of the mind. Our next story is drawn from the quiet wisdom of the earth, the recognition that true wealth is not something found, but something cultivated. Imagine an old farmer, weathered and wise, who had spent his entire life working a small plot of land that belonged to his family for generations. The land was not spectacularly fertile, and the work was hard, demanding patience and resilience. He and his wife lived a simple life, taking only what the field offered and giving back their effort and love in return. They were content because they were self-sufficient, relying on the rhythm of the seasons more than the fluctuating prices of the market. Now, the farmer's 2 sons were different. They saw the relentless labor and the modest yield, and their minds were constantly plagued by the subtle greed for instant, effortless wealth. They dreamed of a life free from the back-breaking work of the fields. One day, the old farmer, sensing his end was near, called his sons to his side. His voice was frail but firm. "My sons," he whispered, "I have lived a simple life, but know this: a great treasure lies hidden somewhere in our fields. I have marked no spot, but it is there, buried deep. It is yours to find." With these words, the old man passed away, leaving his sons electrified, not by sorrow, but by greed. The very next morning they rushed to the fields, abandoning all other labor. The thought of gold and jewels drove them into a furious, frantic frenzy. They began to dig, not with the patient rhythm of planting, but with a desperate, tireless energy. They dug and dug, not just turning over the soil, but excavating every inch of the land, tearing out stubborn roots and breaking up hard earth, leaving no corner of the small property untouched. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into a month. The entire field was meticulously turned, every clod of earth examined and broken open. But they found nothing. No chest, no coins, no glimmer of jewels. Their energy began to wane, and their initial excitement curdled into bitter disappointment and anger. They felt cheated and exhausted. As spring arrived, one son, utterly dejected, threw down his shovel. The other son, tired but practical, sighed and looked over the perfectly tilled, deep soil. "We have worked so hard," he lamented. "The ground is perfect. It seems a shame to let all that effort go to waste. Let us at least plant the seed we have." And so, out of sheer practicality, they planted the simple seeds, rice, barley, vegetables, into the thoroughly aerated, nutrient-rich soil their greedy quest had prepared. When the harvest came, it was unlike any the land had ever yielded. The crop was magnificent, full, heavy, and abundant. It was a yield 10 times greater than their father had ever achieved. They had so much that they could sell the surplus, earning more money than they had ever imagined. Sitting together, counting the unexpected earnings from their bountiful harvest, the wiser son looked at the gold, and then out at the fruitful field. He smiled a sudden, knowing smile. "Brother," he said softly, "we were fools to think the treasure was gold. Our father was not lying. The treasure was the digging. The treasure was the work itself. He forced our greedy hands to perform the deep, honest labor that unlocked the true wealth, the abundance hidden not beneath the earth, but in it." The old farmer's wisdom was perfect. Greed drove them to the labor, but the letting go of the expectation of quick gold led them to the recognition of true, sustainable wealth. They learned that richness is not found in an object waiting to be possessed, but in the constant, honest flow of cultivation and effort. Tonight, let this wisdom settle on your own efforts. What treasure are you frantically digging for in your life? Perhaps you are searching for the buried treasure of recognition, digging through social media or overanalyzing interactions. Perhaps you are digging for the treasure of perfect health, anxiously monitoring every ache and pain. The deepest peace comes when we realize that the treasure is not the finding, but the honest, daily tilling of the field of our own consciousness. The very act of patiently breathing, the simple surrender to rest, the gentle sorting of thoughts. This is the real labor that yields the rich harvest of tranquility. Stop the frantic, greedy search for the finished treasure. Relax your grip on the shovel. The wealth you seek is not hidden in a chest, but already woven into the fabric of your present effort. Let the exhaustion of the frantic diggers leave your body now. There is no urgency. Sink into the realization that you are already sowing the seeds of perfect rest. Part 10. The Shadow of More. Drift now into a deeper, effortless surrender. Let the wisdom of the farmer's field give way to a gentler, more subtle landscape, the quiet, internal space where our desires linger. Tonight, we examine the shadow of more, that relentless, nagging urge that keeps contentment just out of reach. Imagine a simple, quiet room at twilight. The room is perfectly adequate. It is warm, secure, and peaceful. You are sitting there, feeling a profound, simple sense of enough. This is the state of santosha, or contentment, a beautiful, settled peace. You feel completely whole, but wait, suddenly a faint, almost imperceptible shadow passes across the room. It is the thought of more. It whispers, "This peace is nice, but wouldn't it be better if you had already solved that problem for tomorrow?" It murmurs, "You're resting well, but wouldn't it be perfect if you could just check your phone one last time?" It nudges, "You have enough money, but what about the security of just one more investment?" This shadow of more is the ghost of greed. It is never satisfied with the present moment. It is the mind's tendency to take a state of perfect completeness and immediately introduce a small, anxious gap, the gap between what is and what could be. And in that tiny gap, peace vanishes. The Buddha taught that the mind, left unchecked, becomes an endless craving machine. It is not that we want a specific thing. We simply become attached to the act of wanting. We are addicted to the mental energy of pursuit because we mistake that anxious anticipation for happiness. When we finally acquire the desired thing, the joy is fleeting, lasting only until the shadow of more appears again, prompting the next chase. Think of those times when you finally achieved a goal, a promotion, a successful trip, a beautiful purchase. For one moment, you stood on the peak, breathing in the satisfaction, and then, almost immediately, the mind whispered, "What's next? You need to climb a higher peak." That whisper is the shadow. It steals the warmth of your accomplishment. Tonight, as you lie in the most profound state of enough, the state of absolute, perfect rest, we practice recognizing this subtle shadow. We do not fight it. Fighting is an engagement, and the shadow thrives on engagement. We simply observe it with soft, detached awareness. Feel the deep comfort of your bed, the stillness of the room, the perfect rhythm of your breath. This is absolute abundance. Now, if the shadow appears, a fleeting thought of, "I need a better quality of sleep," or "I need to remember to do that thing first thing," do not follow it. Simply observe the shadow passing. There is the thought of more security, just a passing shadow. There is the thought of more control, just a passing shadow. There is the thought of more perfection, just a passing shadow. Recognize that this shadow is a movement of the mind, not a true need of your being. Your being, your physical body, is already at rest. It has achieved its goal. The mind is the only part still running. The practice of peace is the practice of gently refusing to follow the shadow. When you stop chasing, the shadow cannot lead you anywhere. It simply dissipates into the stillness from which it arose. Allow yourself to fall in love with the feeling of enough. It is not a resigned, passive state. It is an active, powerful realization of total completeness. You lack absolutely nothing right now. Your bed is supporting you. Your breath is sustaining you. The night is quiet. Sink into the light of this perfect moment, where the shadow of more has no substance and no power. Let the realization that this is enough be the final, soft pillow beneath your head, carrying you fully and completely into the deepest realms of rest. The monk in the king's ransom. Settle deeper now, friend. Release the subtle tension that holds the muscles around your eyes. Let your mind become vast and quiet, a deep, clear well of tranquility. We turn now to a classic story, one that cuts through complexity to reveal the absolute simplicity of the path to peace. Imagine an ancient kingdom ruled by a powerful but deeply troubled king. This king possessed every luxury imaginable: mountains of gold, legions of loyal subjects, and palaces that stretched further than the eye could see. Yet, he was restless. The more he acquired, the less he slept. The more his mind churned with the anxiety of maintenance and the fear of loss. His wealth had made him a prisoner of his own possessions. In his search for peace, the king heard whispers of a remarkably simple monk who lived high in a cave, far from the temptations and noise of the world. This monk was said to be the happiest man in the kingdom, possessing nothing but his robes and his quiet mind. The king, consumed by his own misery, decided he must have the monk's secret. He would buy peace, the only way he knew how. The king's procession was magnificent. Thousands of soldiers, chariots laden with chests of treasure, and banners unfurled. They found the monk sitting in absolute stillness outside his bare cave, his eyes closed, his face perfectly serene. The king, in his heavy jewel-encrusted robes, dismounted and bowed clumsily. "Venerable one," the king proclaimed, his voice heavy with impatience and worry, "I am the richest man in the world, yet I am the most miserable. You, who possess nothing, are clearly the happiest. I have brought you a king's ransom, chests of gold, gems, and all the wealth you could dream of. Tell me the secret of your peace, and all this is yours." The monk slowly opened his eyes, and they shone with the clarity of mountain water. He looked at the vast display of gold and the anxious, desperate face of the powerful king. He did not ask for a single coin. He did not reject the gold harshly. He simply waited for the king to fall silent. Then, the monk spoke just 2 words, his voice as soft and final as a falling leaf. "Let go." The king was bewildered. Let go? Of what? Of my kingdom? Of my duties? I cannot simply abandon everything. The monk shook his head gently. The treasure is not the thing to be let go of. It is the grasping that holds you. You cling to your gold, to your title, to your past achievements, and to your future plans. You grasp them all so tightly that your hand is a permanent, painful fist. You came here seeking a complex philosophy, a rare secret formula. But the truth of peace is so simple that you overlook it. He continued, "Your gold is heavy, but the greed to keep it is heavier. Your title is grand, but the greed to defend it is crushing. I possess nothing, and thus my hands and my heart are always open. When the hand is open, nothing can be lost, and everything is a gift." The monk then picked up a small, smooth pebble from the ground, held it for a moment, and then gently dropped it. "That," he said, indicating the dropped pebble, "is the wisdom. You do not even have to throw the stone away with effort. Just cease to clutch it. The stone of worry, the stone of desire, they fall from the open hand by their own weight." The king stood there, stunned. He had offered a ransom for a complex answer and received only a 2-word instruction that cost him nothing to take, yet required the surrender of his entire mental framework. Tonight, let the power of this profound simplicity settle into the core of your being. Greed convinces us that the solution to restlessness is a complicated, intricate process of accumulation and maintenance. The Buddha's wisdom, conveyed by the monk, reminds us that peace is the simplest state of all, the state of not holding on. What heavy stones are you still clutching in your mind tonight? The stone of yesterday's anxiety, the stone of tomorrow's expectation, the stone of "I must be doing something." Hear the monk's gentle instruction directed to your tired mind. Let go. You do not need to solve the problem of greed. You only need to stop clutching the desire. Release the tension in your hands, your feet, your entire body. With every slow, deepening breath. Imagine the stone of your final worry falling away, hitting the earth softly, leaving your inner hand empty, light, and perfectly free. Sink deeper into the profound rest that comes only from the knowledge that you need absolutely nothing more than this single, simple, present moment. Part 12. The taste of pure water. Rest now in the aftermath of the monk's simple command. The hands of your mind are open. Your burden is beginning to lift. Let us turn our attention to the simplest of all sensory experiences, the one that most perfectly illustrates the difference between genuine contentment and the exhausting pursuit of gratification. The taste of pure water. Imagine you are walking on a long, dry, dusty path. The sun has been warm, and your body is feeling the gentle fatigue of honest effort. There is no urgency in your thirst, only a quiet, undeniable need for restoration. Finally, you come to a small, secluded spring. The water is clear, cool, and perfectly still. You cup your hands and bring the water slowly to your lips. You do not gulp it down, you sip it, allowing the coolness to spread gently through your mouth, down your throat, and into the core of your being. In that moment, the moment when pure, cold water meets honest thirst, there is absolute and profound satisfaction. The sensation is complete. It is not seeking to be anything else. The water is simply water, and the need is simply met. There is no ambition in the taste, no anxiety in the swallowing. This feeling is the perfect, unadorned experience of contentment. Now, imagine the feeling of greed entering this scene. Greed is the mind that says, "This water is good, but wouldn't it be better if it were sweetened, or flavored with exotic fruit, or mixed with something intoxicating?" Greed is the mind that, even as the cold water meets the thirst, immediately begins to compare. This water is fine, but it's not as cold as the well at home. I must find that perfect, ultimate sip. Greed is the mind that hoards. I must fill every bottle I own, even though I only need a single cup right now. I must ensure I have more than everyone else in case the spring runs dry. And finally, greed is the mind that turns the pure need into a demand. I shouldn't have had to walk so far for this. I deserve a servant to bring it to me. In all these subtle movements, the purity of the satisfaction is lost. The chase for the extra experience, the sugar, the comparison, the security of hoarding, destroys the simple, profound joy that was already present in the basic act of meeting the basic need. The water becomes heavy, complicated, and ultimately less satisfying. The Buddha often reminded his disciples that the deepest pleasures in life are the most simple and the most freely available. The taste of pure water, the coolness of the shade, the deep satisfaction of a simple meal. These things are universally abundant, but the mind, clouded by the greed for extravagance, blinds itself to them. Tonight you are lying in a state of profound, simple need, the need for rest. Let your awareness become like that pure, cold water. Your breath is simple. Your comfort is simple. Your being is simply resting. There is nothing extra required. If your mind whispers that you need a better thought, a deeper quiet, a more perfect feeling of relaxation, that is the subtle greed for sweetened water. Gently put that thought down. Tonight, your deepest peace is found in the purity of the present experience. This air is enough. This bed is enough. This quiet awareness is enough. Sink into the realization that you are not striving for an exotic, complicated form of happiness, but simply surrendering to the basic, cool satisfaction of being present. Let the simple, cool sensation of your own existence wash over you, quenching the thirst of your tired mind. You are whole, you are pure, and you are resting. The trap of future happiness. Settle even deeper into the cool simplicity of the moment. We are now quiet enough to examine one of the most persistent and subtle forms of greed, the continuous craving for a future happiness that never arrives. This is the greedy assumption that peace is always located somewhere else, always just around the corner. Imagine a person walking along a seemingly endless, winding road. This traveler is constantly saying, "I will be truly happy when I reach that next village," pointing to a distant spire on the horizon. But when the traveler finally arrives at that village, breathless and exhausted, he immediately sees an even bigger, more attractive city further off, and the voice of greed whispers, "No, that is the place where you will finally rest." This is the classic trap of the greedy mind. It is perpetually in the business of postponement. It takes the profound peace and satisfaction available in the present moment and uses it as collateral for a future state that may never materialize. The greed is not for the object itself, but for the idea of a perfect, anxiety-free future. It is the subtle, pervasive belief that says, "I cannot be at peace now because I still need to acquire X, achieve Y, or eliminate Z." The Buddha taught with immense clarity that
this future chasing is a direct flight from reality. The only moment that exists, the only place where true effort can be applied and true peace can be realized, is this very moment. The future is merely a projection of the mind, often an anxious accumulation of worries and desires that we carry forward from the present. Think about what your mind might be doing right now, even in this deep state of rest. Is it creating an elaborate scenario for tomorrow's conversation? That is the greedy attempt to pre-purchase future peace. Is it making a solemn vow to be better or more productive starting tomorrow? That is the greedy rejection of the completeness of who you are right now. The exhaustion you feel is the mental energy wasted in this constant journey between here and there, between now and then. You are perpetually running to a village that shifts further away the closer you get. The practice tonight is to simply cancel the reservation for future happiness. You do not need to wait for tomorrow's successful outcome to feel settled. You do not need to wait for a problem to be solved to feel whole. The peace is available now, in the act of simply being. Let your awareness land softly, completely, on the simplicity of the immediate present. Feel the texture of your pillow. Hear the quietness of the space around you. Notice the steady, effortless work of your body at rest. There is no more journey to take. You have arrived. This moment of deep stillness is the only village, the only destination you will ever truly inhabit. Let the plans for tomorrow soften and dissolve. Let the anxieties about the past become thin and transparent. You are not striving for peace. You are resting in peace. Sink into the realization that this is the perfect contentment. This complete stillness, this total absence of striving for the future is the most profound form of wealth. You are rich in the present moment. Allow the relief of that realization to wash over you, pulling you entirely into the effortless, profound calm of the deep night. The Weaver and the Thread of Time. Drift down, deeper and slower. Feel the last remnants of effort dissolving from your mind, leaving only a soft, receptive space. We contemplate a delicate, intricate art now, the work of the Weaver, as a quiet metaphor for life, time, and the selfless nature of creation. Imagine an ancient workshop, quiet and filled with the scent of natural fibers and aged wood.
Here sits a master weaver, working at a vast, intricate loom. Before him, countless spools of yarn are waiting, threads of every imaginable color and texture. These threads represent all the things in life: time, energy, resources, relationships, and moments of joy and sorrow. The master weaver's job is to take these individual threads and weave them into a magnificent tapestry, the tapestry of a life lived. He is skilled, patient, and dedicated to creating a balanced, harmonious design. Now, imagine a young, ambitious apprentice working nearby. This apprentice is plagued by the subtle greed to possess and control the most beautiful threads. He looks at a spool of pure gold thread, shining and rare, and his mind becomes restless. I must take all of that gold thread for my own private work, the greedy voice whispers. It is too beautiful to share in the general tapestry. I will hoard it and weave my own personal dazzling cloth that will make me famous. Driven by this greedy compulsion, the apprentice secretly begins to cut away the most beautiful, most promising threads. The softest silk, the brightest gold, the purest white, and stores them away untouched in a locked chest. He believes that by reserving the best parts of his life, his potential will remain immense and safe. But as he works on his own loom, weaving only with the dull remaining threads, his personal cloth is thin and mediocre. More importantly, he discovers a profound truth. A thread, no matter how beautiful, has no value in isolation. A thread is only valuable when it is woven into the whole. The gold thread he hoarded remains in his chest, tangled, lifeless, and unseen. He never used it, afraid that using it would mean losing it. He wasted his strength protecting the potential of the thread instead of realizing its beauty by weaving it selflessly into the ongoing communal design. The master weaver, however, uses every thread that comes to him. He weaves the strong threads with the weak, the dark threads with the light, the gold threads through the humble linen. His tapestry is magnificent precisely because it is a harmonious whole, where no single thread is allowed to dominate or be hoarded, but all are used to support each other. The lesson for us, as we rest tonight, is this. Greed is the desire to hoard the most beautiful threads of our life, our time, our attention, our love, waiting for a special occasion to use them, or saving them only for our own isolated benefit. What threads are you hoarding in your mind tonight? The thread of your present energy? Are you refusing to spend it on simple, immediate rest, saving it for the frantic start of tomorrow? Release it. The thread of your kindness. Are you holding back a gesture of forgiveness or a soft thought, saving it for when it will bring you the most reward? Release it. The thread of your peace. Are you refusing to weave your current quietude into the fabric of your rest, afraid it will be used up? Peace, like gold thread, only shines when it is spent selflessly on the present moment. Let your mind become the master weaver. Open the chest where you have stored your reserves of attention and peace. Begin to weave them generously and freely into the tapestry of this night. Let the thread of your perfect stillness run completely through the cloth of your sleep. The true beauty of your life is not found in the threads you hoard, but in the beauty of the completed pattern created by the unselfish use of everything you are given. Let yourself be woven into the fabric of the deep, restful night now, letting go of the need to be a separate glittering spool. You are part
of the whole. The wisdom of the broken jar. Sink lower now, resting with the gentle recognition of the seamless flow of life. Let all resistance soften. We turn our quiet attention to the most fundamental truth of existence, anicca, or impermanence, and how the acceptance of loss completely dismantles the fortress of greed. Imagine a simple Zen master named Jian. He was a man of profound stillness, known throughout his village for his ability to meet every circumstance, good or bad, with the same quiet equanimity. He had one possession that was particularly dear to him, a simple, unadorned ceramic jar, which he used for his tea ceremony. It was not expensive, but it had a perfect shape and a soothing weight, and he had used it faithfully for over 20 years. It represented continuity, comfort, and simple pleasure. He cherished this jar, yet his deep wisdom meant he did not grasp it. He knew that to truly own something is to also accept its inevitable disappearance. He often looked at the jar and said softly to himself, "This jar is already broken." One calm afternoon, while preparing tea for a visiting student, Jian carefully filled the jar with warm water. But as he turned to set it down, his sleeve accidentally caught the jar, knocking it off the small wooden table. It fell to the stone floor with a sudden, sharp, and final sound. Smash! Shattering into a dozen irreparable pieces. The student immediately cried out in dismay and rushed to apologize. He was horrified by the abrupt loss of the master's treasured possession. He looked at the master's face, expecting to see a wave of disappointment, sadness, or even anger. The natural, greedy desire to clutch onto a loved object, and the suffering that comes when that desire is frustrated. But the master did not move. He stood perfectly still, looking down at the fragments of the jar, his face completely serene. After a moment of profound silence, he simply smiled, a quiet, peaceful expression. "Ah," he murmured, his voice gentle and completely free of regret. "Now it is." The student was utterly confused. "Master, your beautiful jar. Are you not upset? That jar was so dear to you. It is ruined." The master replied softly, "When I first acquired that jar 20 years ago, I understood that its existence was already temporary. I knew from the first day that this moment, the moment of its shattering, was inevitable. All I did was enjoy its use while it was here. I did not waste my time guarding it with anxiety, because to fear the inevitable is merely to suffer twice." He continued, his gaze still resting on the fragments. "When I said, 'This jar is already broken,' I was preparing my heart, not for the loss of the jar, but for the loss of my attachment to it. The jar broke today. My attachment to it was broken 20 years ago."
By the wisdom of knowing that all things change, therefore, no additional suffering is created. It is simply a jar that has moved from one form to another. This is the deep freedom of non-greed. Greed is the attempt to defy impermanence, the desperate desire to lock every beautiful moment, every loved person, every comfortable state into a permanent vault. But the truth is that the vault is made of illusion, and everything inside it is always already transforming. Tonight, as you rest, let this profound wisdom of anicca soften your mind. What jar are you stubbornly refusing to see as already broken? Perhaps it is the jar of a past friendship that has changed. Perhaps it is the jar of your own health that is slightly less than perfect. Perhaps it is the jar of a perfect expectation for tomorrow. Every one of these things, like the master's jar, is beautiful and useful, but it is already broken. The peace comes from accepting this truth now, in advance. You do not have to wait for the physical shattering to happen before you release your grip. Let go of the greedy demand for permanence. Allow the fragments of your day, the unfinished tasks, the fleeting emotions, the past decisions, to lie on the floor of your mind without judgment. There is no need to try and glue them back together. Simply say, with the Master's calm acceptance, now it is. In the total surrender to what is, in the perfect knowledge that nothing lasts, and that this very change is what makes life precious, there is a profound and unshakable peace. Rest now, free from the burden of trying to hold together what is naturally falling apart. The inner castle of contentment. Drift now into a deeper, effortless state where your awareness is expansive and still. Having released the grasp on external things, we now turn inward to the secure, unshakable sanctuary that lies at the core of your being. We contemplate the realization of the inner castle of contentment. Greed always insists that security, satisfaction, and happiness must be found in the external world. It tells us that we must build an imposing fortress around ourselves, constructed of wealth, status, achievements, and favorable circumstances. We spend our lives tirelessly gathering the stones of possession to fortify this outer wall. But the truth is that any fortress built on sand can be breached by the next financial storm, the next illness, or the next change in fortune. The Buddha's wisdom gently redirects our gaze. He teaches that the only true, unassailable security is found by building a sanctuary within, the castle of contentment. This inner structure is not built from gold or wood, but from the simple, profound realization of self-sufficiency, santosha. Imagine yourself now, walking away from the noisy, demanding marketplace of the world. You are leaving behind the clamor of comparison, the shouting of advertisements, and the anxious calls for more. You are simply turning inward, walking up a quiet, winding path that leads to your own heart. When you arrive, you see this inner castle. Its walls are not made of stone, but of equanimity, the calm acceptance of whatever arises. Its roof is not made of slate, but of wisdom, the clear understanding of impermanence. The key feature of this castle is that its treasures cannot be stolen because they are not material. The first treasure is the realization that you are enough. You do not need to add a single quality, a single achievement, or a single possession to make your intrinsic worth any greater than it is right now. Greed is the voice that says, I am lacking. Contentment is the quiet knowledge that I am whole. The second treasure is the refuge of the breath. This inner sanctuary has a constant living water source, your simple, natural respiration. As long as you can breathe in and breathe out with gratitude, you possess a fountain of life and tranquility that is always with you, immune to market crashes or external crises. The third treasure is unconditional acceptance. The rooms in this castle are warm and welcoming because they do not judge. They accept the feelings of sorrow as gently as the feelings of joy. They accept fatigue as easily as energy. Greed demands only comfortable, pleasant rooms. Contentment recognizes that all of life's experiences are necessary parts of the structure. Tonight, you are safe within these walls. The greed of the world, the desire for a better pillow, a quieter room, a different future, is the sound of the wind rattling outside the gate. It cannot touch you unless you choose to open the gate and go out to meet it. Rest in the profound security of your inner castle. Let your awareness settle on the fact that you possess everything you truly need right here, right now.
You do not need to strive to build this castle. You only need to recognize that it already stands, always ready to welcome you home. Feel the soft, unshakable foundation of your contentment supporting your entire body. The noise of the day cannot follow you here. The fear of tomorrow cannot enter. You are perfectly secure, perfectly whole, and perfectly at peace. Sink into this inner sanctuary, the only true fortress against the anxiety of the world. The echo of the unspoken wish. Drift down, deeper and smoother, allowing the stillness of your inner castle to enclose you entirely. We now explore a very subtle layer of greed, the unspoken wish, the hidden, persistent demand that echoes unconsciously in the quiet chambers of the mind. Greed is often easy to spot when it appears as the craving for a new car or a large sum of money. But tonight, we look for its quieter, more insidious form, the deep, subtle, and often unacknowledged demand that we place upon reality itself. This is the unspoken wish that whispers, "My life should be easier. My body should never ache. My relationships should be perfectly harmonious, and I should never have to feel uncomfortable." This
Unspoken wish is a form of deep-seated greed, because it insists that the universe must conform to our personal comfort. When reality inevitably fails to meet this impossible demand, the suffering is immense, because the failure always feels like a betrayal. The anxious feeling that keeps you awake is often the faint, persistent echo of this frustrated, unspoken wish. Imagine a clear mountain lake. Your mind, in its true state, is like this calm water. But when you harbor an unspoken wish, a hidden demand for control, it is like throwing a small pebble into the lake. The pebble of the wish sinks down, but the surface remains disturbed by the ripple. That ripple is the anxiety, the restlessness, the subtle tension in your chest. We often don't even realize we are making these demands. As you lie here, perfectly still, your body is seeking rest. But perhaps an unspoken wish is echoing. "I wish I could fall asleep instantly, without any thoughts." This wish, though seemingly harmless, becomes a source of tension. The mind, observing that thoughts are still present, begins to fret, frustrated by its failure to achieve the demanded perfection. This striving is the ripple of greed. The practice of peace is to gently bring these unspoken wishes into the soft light of awareness, and then, simply, to disarm them through acceptance. Take a slow, deep breath, and allow your consciousness to gently scan for any lingering demands. Is there a thought lingering about how you should have handled a moment today? The unspoken wish is, "I wish I could rewind and correct that moment." Gently acknowledge the wish and let it soften. It is merely an echo. Is there a slight ache in your body and a sudden insistence that it must go away? The unspoken wish is, "I demand perfect comfort." Gently release the demand, accepting the sensation as merely a transient ripple in the lake. The moment you shine the soft light of acceptance on an unspoken wish, it loses its power to bind you. Greed thrives in the shadow of denial, in the insistence that things should be other than they are. When you simply acknowledge, there is the wish for perfection, you simultaneously step out of the grip of that desire. Tonight, you are not striving for a perfect rest. You are surrendering to the imperfect, actual rest that is available right now. Let the final, subtle echoes of your unspoken wishes fade into silence. Let the lake of your mind become perfectly still. No more demands on reality. No more insistence on control. Sink into the relief of knowing that you have already received all that this moment can offer. There is nothing to fix, nothing to acquire, nothing to change. You are resting deeply, softly, in the profound peace that comes from abandoning the last, quiet demand. The great ox and the light burden. Allow the stillness to deepen, sinking into the quiet safety of the inner castle. Feel the heavy, anxious demands of the day falling away, leaving your consciousness
light and open. We turn now to a powerful, simple image that speaks to our often self-imposed suffering, the great ox and the light burden. Imagine a vast ancient field under the pale light of dawn. Across this field walks a great ox, a creature of immense strength, vast shoulders, and slow, dependable power. This ox has the capacity to pull enormous weight, to plow vast acres, and to carry loads that would crush a lesser animal. It is built for effort, built for the heavy work of sustaining life. One day, a farmer loaded the ox with its day's burden. But instead of loading the cart with heavy grain or bales of hay, the farmer placed only a single small empty basket upon the ox's strong back. The basket was woven from light, dry reeds, a burden that weighed barely a few pounds. Yet, as the ox began to walk, its head hung low, its step was slow and heavy, and its breath came in deep, shuddering sighs. It looked, to an outside observer, as though it were carrying the heaviest load of its life. A wise wanderer, observing this strange sight, stopped the farmer. "Sir," the wanderer asked gently, "why does your magnificent ox strain so terribly beneath such a light, empty basket?" The farmer sighed, a knowing sadness in his eyes. "Ah, friend, it is not the basket that weighs him down. It is his memory. Yesterday, and every day before, he carried a crushing load of stone and timber. Today he sees the harness. He feels the familiar pressure on his back, and he anticipates the crushing weight that is no longer there. His suffering is not real. It is the greed of the mind to hold on to the memory of yesterday's heavy struggle. The ox, in its great strength, had the greedy habit of pre-suffering. It could not let go of the expectation of a crushing burden, even when the reality was lightness itself. The memory of the heavy load, the anticipation of the pain, became the actual crippling weight. This profound image speaks directly to our own subtle, constant struggle. We, too, are creatures of immense capacity, great oxen, capable of handling the true, present-day challenges of life. But we often walk through our days, and especially into our rest, carrying burdens that are no longer there. What heavy memory are you still strapping onto your strong, capable mind tonight? The memory of yesterday's failure? That heavy anxiety has already passed. The memory of past grievances? The weight of that old conflict is already spent. The memory of crushing responsibility? That load is resting on the ground until the sun rises. Greed is the insistence that you must keep these burdens close, perhaps believing that by holding on to the heavy memory, you will somehow prevent the pain from recurring. But this greedy clinging to the memory of struggle only generates new, unnecessary suffering in the present moment. Tonight, you are lying here, with only the single, light basket of the present moment. The burden is light. You are safe. You are resting. Feel the vast, quiet strength of your own being, the great ox within you. This strength is wasted, not on effort, but on the anticipation of pain. With every out-breath, imagine the heavy, phantom load of past worries and future anxieties physically rolling off your back. You do not need to fight to be light. You only need to recognize that the weight is no longer real. Surrender to the truth of this moment. The basket is empty. The burden is gone. The deepest peace comes from the powerful, conscious choice to stop carrying the memories of weights that no longer exist. Sink into the realization of your own unburdened strength and let it carry you softly into profound
and effortless sleep. The path of the middle way. Settle down, friend. Feel the gentle, soft current of rest carrying you further from the shores of waking thought. We now gather all the quiet insights of the night into one central, liberating truth, the Buddha's path of balance, the middle way, as it applies to the practice of non-greed. The Buddha's teaching is always one of perfect balance, avoiding extremes. When we contemplate greed, the mind often rushes to the opposite extreme, the idea of harsh, punitive deprivation. The greedy mind says, "I must hoard everything to be secure." The extreme opposite mind says, "I must punish myself by giving up everything, even what is necessary, to be holy." Both of these extremes are forms of suffering because both are driven by a restless, striving mind. The first is the suffering of clinging. The second is the suffering of resisting or self-hatred. Neither leads to the deep, settled peace of the spirit. The middle way shows us that true contentment lies in the simple, elegant balance of knowing what is enough. It is not about having nothing, it is about needing nothing more. Imagine a simple, perfectly tuned musical instrument. If the string is too tight, if you cling too greedily to a pleasant note or strive too intensely for a goal, it snaps, causing pain and silence. If the string is too slack, if you abandon all effort, all care, and descend into listlessness, it produces only a dull, dead sound. The middle way is the path of the perfectly tuned string, not too tight, not too loose. It is the awareness that allows the beautiful, clear note of simple satisfaction to resonate effortlessly. In the context of letting go of greed, the middle way means it is not necessary to violently reject your possessions. That is the harsh extreme. It is only necessary to gently release your attachment to them so that their loss would not destroy your inner peace. You use them, but they do not use you. It is not necessary to suppress every desire. That is the harsh extreme. It is only necessary to observe the nature of the craving when it arises, recognizing it as an impersonal, transient movement of the mind, and choosing not to follow it. Tonight, practice the perfect tuning of your own heartstring. If a thought of striving arises, a pull to be better, to plan more, to demand perfection, gently loosen the string. Say softly, "Not too tight. The balance is rest." If a thought of listlessness arises, a pull toward apathy, toward neglecting the simple duties of care and attention, gently tighten the string. Say softly, "Not too loose. The balance is presence." Rest in the beautiful, silent center between these two extremes. The center is the place of profound contentment, where you accept the comfort of your surroundings without clinging to them, and you accept the current state of your mind without striving to radically change it. This perfect balance, this simple, quiet sense of enoughness, is the highest form of peace. You are not striving to be someone else or somewhere else. You are simply here, perfectly tuned, ready for the deepest rest. Let the clear, steady note of contentment lull you, softly and completely, into the final depth of the sleeping night. Part 20. Deep Peace, the Final Release. You have traveled far tonight, friend, not across physical space, but through the deep, quiet landscapes of the mind. You have gently observed the nature of greed, that subtle, insistent voice that demands more, better, and permanent. Now, in this final, deepening stage of rest, it is time for the complete, total surrender to the truth you have uncovered. The final act of non-greed is the cessation of all effort, the conscious choice to stop trying to be awake, to stop trying to fall asleep, and to simply allow yourself to be carried by the deep, silent current of the night. Imagine that your entire body is now like the single empty bowl of the monk. It is light, perfectly receptive, and asks for nothing. All the weight, the worry stones, the heavy bundles of planning, the chains of unspoken demands, have been laid down at the door of your inner castle. They are not destroyed, they are simply no longer being carried by you.
Feel the profound relief that comes from the realization that nothing is required of you right now. The day's tasks are complete. The future's troubles are not yet real. You are in the eternal now, the sanctuary of the present moment. Let us perform the final, soft release, the ultimate gift of dana to your own weary spirit. Release the attachment to thought. If a stray thought of greed or worry drifts by, do not chase it, do not judge it, and do not try to suppress it. Simply allow it to be a fleeting, harmless shadow. You are not your thoughts. You are the vast, quiet space in which they appear and dissolve. Let them go. Release the attachment to sensation. If you notice any lingering sensation, a slight warmth, a subtle pressure, a deep comfort, do not cling to it, hoping to prolong it. Accept it fully and allow it to soften and dissolve in its own time. Everything, even this moment of perfect comfort, is passing. Let it go. Release the attachment to control. Surrender the last, hidden desire to manage the process of falling asleep. Sleep is a
Natural, effortless transition. It cannot be forced by will or acquired by striving. It arrives perfectly when the mind is no longer grasping at the illusion of control. Let it go. Sink now into the deep, dark water of profound rest. This is the peace that the Buddha discovered, the peace that is always available when the fires of craving are gently extinguished. It is a peace built not upon what you acquire, but upon the vast, spacious freedom of what you have released. You are light. You are safe. You are complete. The great ox is unburdened. The river is flowing. The bowl is empty and whole. Let every muscle in your body relax utterly, letting go into the total support beneath you. Let your mind rest on the single, simple, perfect truth. I am enough. This is enough. And now, drift. Let the quiet wisdom carry you completely, seamlessly, into the deepest, most restorative peace of the sleeping night. If you found a moment of peace here, please consider subscribing to the Lotus Whisper channel to hear more.